President Kaczynski's romantic vision or a viable, profitable investment for Poland. Not hundreds of billions of zloty, but tens of billions is what it will cost to build the CPK, Central Transportation Hub. Will the port connecting Poland by sky, land and rail with the world ever be built? And when? Today I am checking.
Chcemy zerwać z jakimkolwiek
We'd like to break with any sort of falsehoods around this project.
jakimkolwiek fałszem wokół tego projektu. Najbardziej te największe
Especially the greatest romantic fantasies of Chairman Kaczynski. Well, they were calculated at up to 300 billion zloty, even 600 billion, if one were to collect everything they came up with.
Wszystko pozbierać, co oni wymyślali.
But many experts point out that the discussion around the CPK is highly politicized, and the cost of the airport alone is only 46 billion zloty, not 600 billion zloty, as the Prime Minister just indicated. Meanwhile, let me remind you that the cost of the airport itself is 46 billion zloty, of which 5 to 6 billion zloty remain to be spent directly from the state budget over the next few years. The rest will be covered by private investors and from debt raised by a special purpose company on a commercial basis from international financial markets. This is just a fraction of a percent of Poland's annual budget. This is a first misrepresentation of the issue. The arguments of CPK opponents are mainly that it is a megalomaniacal project that will be far from the city when there is already an airport in the capital itself, and that residents of Baranów will need to be expropriated. The capacity of Warsaw's Okęcie airport is shrinking, however, and soon the airport will not be able to handle incoming passengers. Okęcie's problem is its two intersecting runways. Even counting Modlin and Radom, and expecting to lose the chance to create an aviation hub in Poland, Poland will struggle to handle the growing number of connections. And so sooner or later a new airport will have to be built. The investment is also expected to pay off economically. This is confirmed by many at the Association of Entrepreneurs and Employers. The central communication port is a planned interchange between Warsaw and Łódź, which is expected to integrate air, rail and road transport. The Prime Minister recalled the so-called small CPK, which has already brought benefits.
Myśmy małe CPK zrobili w Gdańsku. Rozwinęliśmy
We made a small CPK in Gdansk. We developed the container port in Gdansk immeasurably, which increased its capacity to receive freight almost twofold.
Frachtu prawie dwukrotnie.
The Gdansk investment, just like this large investment in the CPK, did not please Poland's western neighbours. This is threatening competition to the Germans. The government says it is talking to experts, but so far from what we know, the new head of the project is leaning rather towards scrapping the entire project. So when can we expect a decision? Donald Tusk recently stated that the expert opinions they are gathering should be ready by the end of the first quarter of this year. Edyta Holdinska, Telewizja Republika. The President has signed Poland's delayed 2024 budget and, in a follow-up review, has referred it to the Constitutional Court because of some doubts about whether the proper procedure was followed in approving it. Here is an excerpt of the President's justification for this decision. Due to doubts about the correctness of the procedure for passing the above-mentioned laws, i.e. the inability of MPs Mariusz Kamiński and Maciej Wąsik to participate in the work of the Sejm on these laws, the President decided to refer the above-mentioned laws by way of follow-up control to the Constitutional Court to examine their compliance with the Constitution. Analogous actions will be taken by the President of the Republic of Poland each time MPs are prevented from exercising their mandate, which comes from universal elections. It should be noted that the issue of termination of mandates has been unequivocally determined by the Supreme Court. Mariusz Kamiński and Maciej Wąsik are deputies to the Sejm of the Republic of Poland. Given the false information appearing in the public space regarding the possibility that the President of the Republic of Poland may shorten the term of the Sejm, it should be noted that, in accordance with Article 225 of the Constitution, the President of the Republic may, within 14 days, order the shortening of the term of the Sejm if, within 4 months from the date of submission of the draft budget law to the Sejm, it is not presented to the President of the Republic for signature. With regard to the budget law for 2024, such a situation has not arisen. Whether one considers this positive or not, the new Polish government is already making big moves to improve the country's relationship with Germany. At a joint news conference with her Polish counterpart, Radosław Sikorski, in Berlin yesterday, German Foreign Minister Annalena Baerbock stated that Germany and Poland must move closer together, particularly for the sake of defence.
Unsere Zusammenarbeit im Herzen Europas, die wir gemeinsam neu beleben.
Our cooperation at the heart of Europe, which we want to revitalise together. I'm also very much looking forward to this personally, because a strong Europe, whose centre will continue to move eastwards in the coming years, needs more than ever a lively German-Polish friendship and deep trust between Warsaw and Berlin.
Tiefes Vertrauen zwischen Warschau und Berlin.
Both ministers also stressed their intention to cooperate more strongly in lobbying for support for Ukraine. They also stressed the importance of stronger cooperation within the Weimar Triangle. The Weimar Triangle, an alliance between Germany, France and Poland, last met in March 2022, a meeting which was dominated by the Ukraine war. Sikorski, who took office in December as part of the newly formed government under Prime Minister Donald Tusk, said he was hoping for a parliamentary decision on a €5 billion package for Ukraine this year. We hope that in February it will be possible to decide on a €5 billion package for Ukraine this year. We will also talk about the reconstruction of Ukraine. Poland will also take part in the conference that will take place in Berlin. You mentioned that too, Minister. Poland will continue to be a transport hub, a hub for military aid, and will also be a hub for the reconstruction of Ukraine. But first, the war has to end.
Pomocy wojskowej dla Ukrainy, tak będzie też hubem dla odbudowy Ukrainy, tylko że najpierw trzeba wygrać tą wojnę.
Sikorski signalled his intention to put ties on a stronger footing by visiting Ukraine in December, shortly after his appointment to the new Western-looking government, which has announced a new aid package for Kiev. In a significant development, President Volodymyr Zelensky announced the return of 207 Ukrainian prisoners from Russian captivity on the 31st of January, nearly half of whom were defenders of Mariupol. Greetings, dear Ukrainians. Now we've got good news. It's the news we were waiting for. Today we managed to release 207 more from Russian captivity. The group, comprising 180 privates and sergeants alongside 27 officers from various Ukrainian forces, marks a substantial return home. Zelensky emphasized the importance of remembering all Ukrainians in captivity, expressing determination to bring them back. This exchange, the 50th of its kind, adds to the total of 3,035 Ukrainians returned from captivity. Chief Ombudsman Dmytro Lubinet detailed the immediate support for the returning soldiers, including medical examinations, restoration of documents, and rehabilitation. The exchange notably excluded individuals from a list of those purportedly on board a crashed aircraft, clarified by military intelligence spokesman Andriy Yusov. While media analysis confirmed many listed individuals as previously mentioned POWs, doubts remain regarding their involvement in the crashed plane or their inclusion in the exchange. This exchange underscores continuing efforts between Ukraine and Russia despite stalled peace talks, with periodic swaps facilitated by intermediaries since the conflict began nearly 2 years ago. The largest exchange to date occurred on the 3rd of January, involving 478 captives, mediated by the United Arab Emirates. Denmark's new king, Frederik X, was welcomed today at the presidential palace in Warsaw by Polish President Andrzej Duda, and later laid a wreath at the tomb of the unknown soldier. This is the new monarch's first official visit abroad as king. Frederik X is scheduled to meet other Polish politicians and business people in Warsaw, and will then head to the port city of Szczecin to visit the NATO base there. King Frederik X took the throne in January, succeeding his mother, Queen Margaret II, becoming the head of state not only in Denmark, but also in 2 former colonies, Greenland and the Faroe Islands, both now sovereign territories. According to the King's press release, the monarch will lead a delegation of business people from companies specialising in energy efficiency, climate-friendly agricultural production, and biogas production. The King is also expected to be accompanied by Danish Foreign Minister Lars Løkke Rasmussen and ministers responsible for energy, agriculture and fisheries. In Szczecin, Frederik X will visit the NATO Multinational Northeast Corps, among others. According to the Danish Foreign Ministry, Poland is the 9th export market for Denmark. 700 companies with Danish capital operate in Poland, providing 100,000 jobs. Several Danish companies also see Poland as a gateway to Ukraine, the ministry said in a communiqué emphasising this point. It was noted that Denmark and Poland are united by a protective stance towards Ukraine and a joint investment in the Baltic pipeline, which will foster further independence from Russian gas. In Denmark, the royal couple traditionally make their first official visit to neighbouring Nordic countries. According to the royal court, the king's trip to Sweden and Norway is planned, but the details are not yet known. Farmers across Europe have intensified protests, primarily in France and Belgium, but spreading to other nations, including Spain, Italy, Germany and Romania. The demonstrations aim to address concerns over environmental regulations, rising costs and unfair competition from cheap imports. In France, tensions rose as the government dispatched armoured vehicles to protect Paris's wholesale food market. Despite the European Commission's proposal to restrict agricultural imports from Ukraine and relax some green regulations, farmers remained steadfast in their demands, continuing to block highways and ports. French farmers, buoyed by small concessions from the government, persist in their protests, emphasising unity and determination until their grievances are addressed. unrest. While demonstrations have largely been peaceful, police did arrest 18 individuals attempting to block the Rungis market, a vital hub for food distribution. Interior Minister Gerald Darmanin warned against disrupting essential infrastructure such as airports or markets. The protests underscore widespread frustrations among farmers who feel undervalued, overburdened by taxes and regulations, and threatened by foreign competition. Belgian farmers mirrored French actions, blocking access to ports and highways. Italian farmers also mobilised, joining rallies in Brussels, signalling a pan-European movement. With all eyes on a summit of EU leaders set for Thursday, the bloc's Executive Commission made proposals today, namely to extend import duty suspension on Ukrainian exports until 2025 and introduce an emergency brake for sensitive products such as poultry and sugar to address farmers' concerns. In addition, exemptions from fallow land rules aim to alleviate financial pressures on EU farmers. However, dissatisfaction persists, particularly regarding trade deals like the one with Mercosur nations, which farmers fear will exacerbate competition. The protests just ahead of European Parliament elections highlight the growing influence of farmers in politics, particularly attracting support from far-right factions.
And therefore, we also have to recognise when such a major economic sector like agriculture or agri-food sector goes through the turmoil. So we have to be there, we have to listen, we have to work with our farming community, and we have to look together for the best possible solutions.
Overall, the protests underscore a deep-seated discontent among European farmers, emphasising the need for policymakers to address their concerns to ensure the viability of agriculture and to maintain social stability. Ukraine's EU neighbours, Bulgaria, Hungary, Poland, Romania and Slovakia, have complained that farm imports have upset their markets, leading to protests by farmers and truckers. We will certainly report on what comes out of tomorrow's meeting in Brussels, but despite today's pronouncements by EU bureaucrats, farmers say they will continue until all their concerns are considered. We're starting to be heard, so we are happy, and that's why we see more and more mobilizations. We're united, and we're not ready to lift the blockade until we get answers to all our questions.